Audiophiles, it's time for some fun. We all like fun, don't we? Well, I don't particularly, but many of my viewers do. Where you get your fun is an interesting question. Audiophiles, for instance, like to spend thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even more on their gear, then show it off to their friends. That's fun, in a way, but what if you could be more active with your equipment, get more involved, become part of the system even? Well, now you can. Get ready to get involved. But right now, unbox, unbox, unbox. What I have here is the Ampapa Q1. Ampapa, as far as I can tell, being part of the DAC brand, along with knob sound. No laughing at the back, please. It's a bit confusing, but then audiophiles get confused whether to buy a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley, so it's really all in a day's work. Anyway, the Q1, it's a DAC/headphone amp. Just more of the same, or at least similar, you say. But no, it's more than that. And in all of my reviewing career, I've never seen anything like it, and having asked several of my AI friends, there isn't anything like it. Okay, let's imagine a scenario. Say you're an audiophile, a heavy burden to bear, but stay with me. You have two DACs. You like one for classical music and the other for rock. Why not? If you have the ears for it. But the problem is that you can't just flick a switch and A/B them. You have to go round the back, swap over the inputs and outputs, then you can sit back and enjoy the merits of your work. To make this easier, you need a DAC switch. And again, with the help of my AI friends, I can tell you there's no such thing. What you could do is use a splitter for the optical or coaxial input. Good luck trying that with USB. And an analog switch for the output. That actually would be fairly easy. Commenters, your thoughts? But what if you could have two DACs in one box? Well, you can, and it's called the Ampapa Q1. Let's have a quick look inside the Q1, and you will want to have a look. I'll just peel off the sticker and open the lid. And open the lid. Am I alone in finding electronic circuits things of beauty? Well, maybe not the ones I designed, etched, and built myself many years ago, but they worked. Inside we have the ESS Technology 9039 and the Asahi Kasei Micro Devices 4493, if I'm pronouncing that right, or AK4493, or sometimes AKM4493 for short. I've included links to datasheets in the description. Quoting from the marketing materials, the ESS delivers clinical precision for audiophiles pursuing ultimate detail, and the AK offers organic richness for those who favour a warm and natural sound. How much actual meaning there is in these statements? Well, you can decide for yourself from my audio examples. Yes, audio examples with a wave download. Now, I could treat this as a regular review and list and describe all of the many wonderful features. But most DACs have wonderful features. Mainly the same or similar wonderful features, so I'll concentrate on what the Q1 has that other DACs don't. Now, the DAC rolling, how do we do it? So I click the volume control to access settings, go to chip select, and I find that I can roll the DAC chips separately for headphones and line out. I think there's a very important point here. Which DAC suits headphones and which suits speakers could easily be different, depending of course on your headphones, amp and speakers. And don't forget your ears and personal taste. For the headphones it's a plain choice, AK or ESS. For the line outputs, well, there are two sets of line outputs on RCAs. You can have either DAC drive both sets of outputs, or the AK on output 1 and the ESS on output 2. It couldn't be more simple, and at the same time, everything you'd want. One of the things I've noticed in my review equipment is that simplicity is often lacking. Simplicate and add lightness. Whether it was Colin Chapman, William Bushnell Stout, Edwin Heinemann, or perhaps even Oscar Wilde who first said that. They were not wrong. So, simplicating my comments here, that's all you need to do to change chips, and I like it. Not content with DAC rolling, the Q1 offers op-amp rolling too. Well, it kind of has to, since you can open the lid and access everything that's inside. I can imagine a design team meeting where someone stood up and shouted, "Hey, if we put the op-amps in dip sockets, audiophiles can roll them." Round of applause for that person, probably to Junior. Okay, I recommend an extraction tool, even if I've always bodged it in the past. And the op-amp to the far right is going to be slightly tricky. But come on, you're an audiophile. Op-amp rolling is what you love. The manual lists a few suitable op-amps to try, remembering that they are duals. The OPA 2604 and 2134, the Muses 02, MUSES 02. That last one's £100 worth, or more, for the set. Come on, shell out. Get the best op-amps and you'll hear your DACs at their finest. And one really will suit classical, the other rock and roll. Surely. Where my thoughts go, however, would be to try a really basic op-amp, like the venerable 741, for which the closest approach in a dual package is said to be the 1458. Surely, the sound would be terrible. Or the 5532, which I've used myself a lot, and along with the 5534, if it was good enough for Rupert Neve, surely it's good enough for the Q1. Commenters, what say you? You want audio? Well, I have audio. Firstly, now listen to this because many of my viewers haven't in the past. As we know, YouTube audio isn't the best, so I've included a link to a WAV file in the description. Now, let's see how many commenters say my test is useless because of YouTube audio. There will be some. Okay, so I have music clips playing through the AK and ESS DACs. There are limitations to this test other than YouTube's audio, though. One is the analog to digital conversion necessary simply so I can make the files. The other is your own DAC. Maybe it isn't resolving enough to hear any differences. I'd say, though, that if the differences between the two DACs in the Q1 are significant, those differences should be robust enough to be audible. And if they're not, then that's a demonstration that whatever differences there are small in comparison with the analog to digital conversion process and whatever limitations there may be in your own DAC. Please comment your thoughts, though. It's impossible to make a perfect demonstration unless you can hear the Q1 in real life. Oh, what music shall I use? From comments on previous videos? Obviously the wrong music. Yes, I'd like to do orchestral, but when a jolly commenter tells me where I can get recordings that are well recorded, hi-fi quality, which is not necessarily the same thing, and either public domain or Creative Commons in both music and recording, well, I'll see what I can do. In the meantime, I have some Brazilian guitar and percussion from a recording I made back in the early 1990s in Smith Square Hall, which used to be St. John's Smith Square. Smith Square, ancestral home of both the Conservative and Labour parties. Did you know? Bearing in mind my pronunciation difficulties earlier, I'm not going to attempt Brazilian Portuguese pronunciation. So, I'll let my language assistant tell you that on guitar we have
Carlos Barbosa-Lima.
And on percussion,
Gaudencio Thiago de Mello.
Here we go. Original followed by AK, then ESS. Now, do you remember that I said there'd be a download link to a WAV file in the description? What? You forgot already? Well, not you. Some commenters will. Now, I'm going to say that with my aging ears, they sound really very similar. But I'd prefer that you be the judge. And they may sound similar to me, but the waveforms look rather different. Can you see what's different here? AK on the top, ESS on the bottom. Here's a pulse waveform on my oscilloscope. Again, AK on the top, ESS on the bottom. I don't think the delay between the pulses is of any importance, and the high-frequency wiggle is expected. But what else do you see? Anyway, I think I've rambled on enough. I haven't covered everything, but it was the DAC and Opamp rolling I was interested in. I'm sure other reviewers will cover the rest. But audiophiles, surely you'd want to be able to compare and select the right DAC for your choice of music. And play around with Opamp rolling, with no need for a screwdriver. Commenters, what say you?
Vejo você em breve.